Should we start again? Very good morning to all of you and welcome to today's discussion on audit landscape, challenges, opportunities, and understanding about this scope in audit for all the CA final students and the young chartered accountants who have joined us. To take us forward, we have CA Kamal Garg, who would be speaking on statutory audit and allied fields. And then we have C. Ashish Bansalji, who would be talking on internal audit, risk advisory, and other related fields. And we would soon be joined by C. Mukul Agarwal, who would be talking on forensic audit and other allied fields. To moderate this session, today we have Muskan Channa, who is future chartered accountant or an article, we can say. She is doing CA final, and I'm CA Gaurav Garg to support you in all this. So thanks to all of you for joining this today's discussion. This discussion is streamed live on a YouTube also. Now I would request Muskan to take it forward.
Good morning, all of you. Myself Muskan. I am currently pursuing my articleship from BDO, one of the Big Five firm in internal audit department. So I am here to moderating a session. So basically, shall I start the questioning, sir?
I think Muskan, first you need to introduce the speaker and then come to the questions.
Sure, sir, sure. So we have Kamal Garg, sir, who is who is an insolvency professional and also a DISA qualified. And we have Ashish Bansal, sir, who is having a expertise in taxation and he was a independent director and management consultant. Apart from this, he is qualified chartered accountant in previous times. Hello.
You something more about Kamalji. Kamal is a renowned author, also Muskan. He has authored a lot
Yes,
of
sir.
books
He
on
was
audit.
also a member of board of study management
Yeah,
research group
and
of
a
an
very
IRC.
renowned faculty speaker across India.
Yeah.
So we would not have got better than Kamal Karji to come and discuss about the audit in the profession. Ashish ji is doing a lot of internal audits. He's got a good practice of internal audit. So we thought, let's have Ashish ji who can come and guide our students and members on the internal audit in this category. And once we'll have Mukul Agarwal ji, I will brief him or I can brief him right now. Mukul is doing a lot of forensic. He's attached with various government bodies in forensic audit. So he's regular speaker at various forums on forensic audit. So again, we will have best of the worlds in the audit segment. Now I think you can start with the questions. So Muskan, I would say let's do it in a this way that each panelist, Kamal, Ashish ji, and Mukul gets 15 to 20 minutes to speak. So we will start with the stat audit, Kamal ji, and then we'll move on to Ashish ji, and towards the end, we will take Mukul ji. So that the participants who have joined us, they can also have a targeted question related to a particular speaker. And then towards the end, we can have, the balance question if any of the participants is having. Over to you, Muskan.
Okay, sir. So basically, we have as a student, if I start my article sheet, I wanted to know about what is basically a stat audit. What things we are doing in stat audit, and what skill we possess as a article to start our articleship.
Your voice is low, Kamal bhai.
Yes,
Thoda.
voices.
I'm asking this question is to me or other panelists about stat audit skills and all this stuff.
Stat audit आपका है Kamal.
Okay. So when you ask this question to me, first of all, I'm very glad I'm being invited by Gaurav ji for this program and really a need for the hour, especially in the times when students will talk that statutory audits are going to be deleted from our chapters in times to come. So we लोग कहते हैं कि there was a consultation paper of NAFRA in recent past where there was a proposal that statutory audit should be truncated for small companies. First of all, let me be very blunt with you in asking the question, or as a matter of the counter question to the question. When you people do statutory audit, maybe Big 4, Big 5, Big 10, top 50, or maybe the mediocre firms, are you really doing statutory audits? Or are you simply filling the templates given by your senior partners or engagement partners? I can see Mukulji. Mukulji, namaskar. Good to see you on the screen.
Welcome, Mukulji, welcome.
So this question assumes special significance. If I be very frank with you, in my experience of last 25 years, what I observed that article assistants are given a laptop and then some working papers to be filled in. Are you really doing statutory audits? To my mindset, answer is no. You are simply facilitating statutory audits. You are not doing statutory audits. And why this question is a quite impossible question, let me be again sharing my experience. Suppose that Muskan did training in statutory audit in BDO.
Okay.
Now, once she will be becoming a chartered accountant, she will apply either in top 10 CA firms or in industry.
Correct.
Let me assume that she has a dream that she will go to industry. Now, Muskan, the question is when you will go to the industry will ask you a question why I should hire you because you did statutory audits.
Correct. Correct.
So the right place will not be industry then because industry का जो statutory auditor है, they are already some big fours or big 10. So how you will be able to justify that a person who did training in statutory audits is justifiable employee in industry? तो आपका जो सही प्लेस होगा स्टैट ऑडिट के बाद सीए बनने के बाद या तो आप जाएं किसी सीए फर्म में या आप जाएं किसी मैं कहूंगा जय मुकुल जी के पास बिकॉज ही इज इनटू फोरेंसिक ऑडिट एंड अदर काइंड ऑफ स्टफ एंड दैट्स व्हाई दिस क्वेश्चन इज इंपॉर्टेंट कि क्या आप स्टैट्यूट करते हैं to my understanding I may be sounding bit rude and harsh but it is a bitter truth हम लोग templates fill करते हैं if I give an example you ask me question what are the skills required to my experience what article assistants do for the first 2 months they will do the good audit they will vouch each and every invoice they will put tick marks and all these things another 4 months of their initial articleship they will become bit unwilling to do audits बैलेंस पीरियड चलता है ना हमारा सीए देखेगा टिक मारो ना so that kind of unwillingness and reluctance comes in that's a human tendency so this is not a skill this is a time pass now let me come to the skill part what is the skill when you go for audit there are a few concepts like audit materiality audit sampling how many of our students as on date do understand how to prepare audit sampling how to make risk assessment templates. But I have seen generally students do make sample checking by saying मेरे दिल को लगा कि 10,000 इनवॉइसेस में से मुझे 100 इनवॉइस चेक करने चाहिए तो अगर दिल को लग रहा है कि 100 इनवॉइस चेक करने चाहिए दैट इज नॉट सैंपल चेकिंग दैट इज इंट्यूशन बेस्ड चेकिंग यू कैन नॉट बी बेस्ड अपॉन इंट्यूशन व्हेन यू गो फॉर एन ऑडिट तो मुस्कान आप भी ऑडिट करते हैं आप जब सैंपल चेकिंग करते हैं तो आपको टेम्पलेट मिलता होगा बीडीओ से कि इस हिसाब से सैंपल बनाना है बट हमारे कितने ऐसे स्टूडेंट्स होंगे जो बाकी फॉर्म्स में भी हैं जहां पर सैंपल चेकिंग का मॉडलिंग क्या होता है पता है सिमिलरली इफ यू गो टू मटेरियलिटी
Kaval bhai, and to all the panelists, just one suggestion. Let's not take a name of any firm, है ना? Let's avoid taking name of any firm. Thank you.
Okay, no problems. Only Muskan introduced BDOs. That's why I'm taking an example. No problems. And if we go with the concept of audit materiality, how we design audit materiality. So the first skill set which is required is we must understand the jargons of auditing, be it audit materiality, be it audit sampling, be it risk assessment, be it audit reporting. When it comes to audit reporting, we must understand how to make a calculative judgment whether I should issue qualified report or adverse report or disclaimer report or EUM report. Even today, I have seen even the experienced chartered accountants, they are slightly confused whether I should issue qualified report or emphasis of matter report. Normally, the tendency goes on like this, कि let us not qualify, लेकिन मुझे बताना है, so let me give emphasis of matter report. So we have to be calculative on that part also. If I add on other part on audit skills, we have a concept of RPT, related party transactions. How many of my audit students do make a calculative element that RPTs are different when it comes to Companies Act, RPTs are different when it comes to tax audit, RPTs are different when it comes to CARO. If I give an example, in companies that we have section number 188. Section number 188 deals with related party transactions. Now, when you come to AS or Ind AS, we have accounting standard number 18 and we have Ind AS 24 respectively for RPT. So Muskan, आप मुझे बताइएगा, and maybe if other students can answer in another way, can you name few transactions which are RPT under company, which are RPT under accounting standards, but are not RPT under Companies Act? हमने स्किल की बात की, तो स्किल के लिए पहले एक स्टेप पीछे जाना पड़ेगा. स्किल से पहले जरूरी ये भी है कि माय फंडामेंटल्स मस्ट बी स्ट्रांग.
Correct.
And that is what is happening. My fundamentals sometimes are not strong because I am doing template based audit or intuition based audit. I got one answer from Sujit Tiwari ji in chat box. Remuneration to director. So remuneration to director is also RPT under section 188 of Companies Act. And remuneration to director is also RPT in accounting standards and Ind AS. The proper answer is loan transaction. If you refer section number 188, in the entire list of RPT, loan transactions, guarantee transactions, they are not listed. But if you go to AS or Ind AS, loan transactions, guarantee transactions are listed. So if a holding company gives guarantee to a subsidiary company, that transaction is not RPT under Companies Act, but is RPT under AS or Ind AS.
Okay.
How many of the students correlate this element? Similarly, if I come back to one more knowledge-based question, which itself includes skills, let me ask you this question. There is a company which complies with the accounting standards, and there is a company which complies with Indian accounting standards, Ind AS. They have independent directors on the board. Now, what happened? The company paid sitting fees. The company paid sitting fees to independent directors. Now, my question to the listeners is, maybe panelists can also answer my question. If a company is a AS compliant company and sitting fees is paid to independent director, where it will be reflected in statement of P&L. And similarly, if there is a company which complies with Ind AS and it pays sitting fees to independent director, where this sitting fees will be reflected in statement of P&L. हम लोग ऑडिट में क्या कर रहे हैं? हम ऑडिट में ये देख रहे हैं कि जो सिटिंग फीस पे की है इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर को, उस पर टीडीएस ठीक से कटा है कि नहीं कटा, हम ये चेक कर रहे हैं. दूसरा हम क्या चेक कर रहे हैं? जो सिटिंग फीस पे की है, क्या वो विद इन द लिमिट्स ऑफ कंपनीज एक्ट है? That is fine, you are checking. But what about reporting? Are you doing the proper financial reporting, and hence are you making a inculcation of whether this audit practice is looking forward and taking care of proper disclosure practices? तो आप मुझे बताइए इसका आंसर क्या होगा. सिटिंग फीस पेड टू इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर्स कैसे दिखाया जाएगा पीएनएल में अगर एक कंपनी एएस फॉलो करती है या दूसरा केस एक कंपनी इंड एएस फॉलो करती है. Before I share answers, let me come back to my initial words of the speech. When students become chartered accountants, in next 24 months after the result, nothing great happens except that you become the member of ICR or you are eligible to become member of ICR. So if you go to any audit firm, big 50, big 100, whatever, the same questions will be asked. And what the students are replying? Students are replying, I did audits of top-notch listed companies. So this becomes a kind of, ironical statement. On one hand, you are saying that you did audit of top-notch 100 companies like biggies, listed companies. On other hand, there is no answer. And that's why what happens, your mark sheet does not justify the candidate. Mark sheet may say you scored 90 out of 100 or 80 out of 100, but the answers in the interview cabin will not justify the mark sheet. And that's why the problem is, one of the topic sub-component is challenges. This is one of the challenge. The challenge is on the landscape, you have the driving license, but you still don't know how to drive the car. And that's why the students are lagging behind. And that's why this kind of, inculcation comes in the social media or maybe the discussions. Gaurav ji is also there. He must be also listening. बच्चे कहते हैं सीए बनने के बाद कि ऑडिट में स्कोप नहीं है. See, there are two different things. One is there is no scope, and second is you are not getting the scope. I would favor the second statement. You are not getting the scope. And the correct answer to my question is, if you refer AS 15, Accounting Standard 15, independent directors are not considered employees. So in that very case, whatever sitting fees is paid to independent directors, that will be reflected in P&L as legal and professional charges. But when you come to Ind AS, in
Can I
Ind
try?
AS,
Sorry, can I try?
yeah, please.
Sir, I think in India's we in PNL we create as a expense we show in employee benefit expense.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
The sitting fees paid to independent directors in case of Ind AS is reflected in employee benefits, because under Ind AS 19 employee benefits standard, the expression employee includes all the directors. So when we say all the directors, it will include even independent directors.
correct.
And that kind of element needs to be taken care of. I have taken the very minute example, very simplest example. There can be n number of examples on a complicated side as well. Similarly, if I ask one more question to you, which will also help in understanding the challenges and the skills, हम सभी लोग CSR के बारे में जानते हैं, पढ़ते हैं.
Correct.
तो गौरव भाई क्या हो रहा है रियल वर्ल्ड में? ऑडिटर्स आर ओनली चेकिंग वेदर CSR अमाउंट इज प्रॉपरली स्पेंट और नॉट, कि 2% मुझे जो खर्चा करना था वो खर्चा हुआ कि नहीं हुआ, वो पैसा यूज हुआ है कि नहीं हुआ, और अगर कोई ऑनगोइंग प्रोजेक्ट है, सम प्रोजेक्ट इज ऑनगोइंग प्रोजेक्ट, whether this money is properly parked into a special account or not. This is what we are checking. But now the question arises, which auditors must also look forward to. Let us take a example hypothetically to understand. Suppose that there is a company on which CSR is applicable. Let us say the name of company is XYZ Limited. We have CSR rules, and I would request each one of you, do not search on Google to get the answers. Try to be honest in your answers. So there is a company XYZ Limited, and it's a listed company, and the CSR provisions are also applicable. Now, we have CSR rules, and CSR rules do state that you can make CSR contribution either to third-party NGO or to your own NGO. That means a company can have its own Section 8 subsidiary. So take a situation, there is a company XYZ Limited on whom CSR is applicable. XYZ Limited incorporated a Section 8 subsidiary. For example, XYZ Foundation. It was given a Section 8 license by ROC also. Now, as per CSR rules, what XYZ Limited did, XYZ Limited contributed CSR funds to this XYZ Foundation, which is very much in compliance of the law. So when we will come to CSR compliance, we can always say XYZ Limited made contributions to XYZ Foundation, which is very much valid one. So generally, Gaurav bhai, kya ho raha hai? Auditors are simply checking whether the funds are properly routed to XYZ Foundation or not, and whether XYZ Foundation has used this money or not. That is not the audit per se. That is not the audit per se. We have to move a step ahead. Now, the next level step which auditors must inculcate is XYZ Limited is having several subsidiaries. Subsidiary A, subsidiary B, subsidiary D. Now it is having one more subsidiary, that is Section 8 subsidiary, called as XYZ Foundation. Now the question arises whether XYZ Limited needs to consolidate XYZ Foundation or not. एक तो गौरव भाई मैं बताऊं आपको, मार्केट में ये भी टेंडेंसी है लोगों में, यू मस्ट हैव सीन व्हेन यू वर इन द लीडरशिप रिसेंटली, पीपल डू बिलीव whatever is printed by the big companies, despite the fact that in institute we have FRRB, Financial Reporting Review Board. They have issued advisory several times that certain things are not good, which we must correct. People still are not correcting. One of the element is this one. So my question still is unanswered. The question is whether Section 8 subsidiary needs to be consolidated with XYZ Foundation. This is what the challenge is. So for example, if let us assume Ashish ji is the CFO of a listed company, and Ashish ji says that I need fresh chartered accountants. Now say any fresh chartered accountant approaches Ashish ji. So Ashish ji will be asking a question that you did statutory audits. Why should I hire you? Because you are not supposed to do my statutory audit. So how you could be a useful resource for me? What the student will say? Where the student who became chartered accountant will say that I did so many big audits of biggies, or I am from such and such firm. This could be good for entry. but this could not be good for sustainability. In that very sense, the student should reply that because I did big audits, I do have a niche. I do have a niche that I do understand transactions. I do understand transactions where they will be fitting in the reporting aspects. Now, when I come to this question of consolidation, Section 8 subsidiary is not required to be consolidated because by virtue of Section number 8, whatever profits are earned by a Section 8 company, they are not distributable to the members, and hence no consolidation will happen. And more importantly, Muskan, what we need to understand, if this Section 8 subsidiary is not consolidated, under Schedule 3, we have Part C. In Part C, we give you details of all the subsidiaries and JVs. One of the line item of that Part C is that you have to report, you have to disclose if there are subsidiaries which are not consolidated, then what are the reasons of their non-consolidation? This is that example. But one more
कमल भाई
element,
जो मैं समझ पा रहा हूँ वो ये कि दी अपॉर्चुनिटीज देयर, बट उससे पहले जो हमारा रोबोटिक स्टाइल हो गया है काम करने का, you know that we are now more involved in data punching and data collection,
true,
and we are not going into the reasons कि हम इसको ऐसे क्यों डिस्क्लोज कर रहे हैं.
true.
इट इज एक्चुअली हैम्परिंग, मतलब समवेयर वी हैव सिस्टमाइज्ड, बट उससे कहीं ना कहीं हैम्पर हो रहा है जो यंगस्टर्स या स्टूडेंट उस चीज को फॉलो कर रहे हैं. सो
डेटा
व्हेन दे आर
फीडिंग की
गोइंग
तरफ
फॉर
ध्यान
इंटरव्यू,
ज्यादा हो गया है.
हाँ,
डेटा फीडिंग ज्यादा हो रही है, एनालिसिस कम हो रहा है.
Correct.
सो माइट बी जो हमारे व्यूअर्स ये सुन रहे हैं, स्टूडेंट्स एंड यंग मेंबर्स, आई थिंक दे नीड टू स्टार्ट अंडरस्टैंडिंग द रीजन कि अगर हम ये कर रहे हैं या हम कंसोलिडेशन कर रहे हैं या नहीं कर रहे. फॉर एग्जाम्पल जैसे CSR वाला आपने एग्जाम्पल दिया. नाउ इन दैट केस, इफ द लॉजिक गोज कि कंसोलिडेशन उसका करना है जो शेयर होल्डर्स में डिवाइड हो रहा है, और
Yes,
जो शेयर होल्डर में डिवाइड नहीं होता उसको कंसोलिडेट नहीं करेंगे बिकॉज दैट इज नॉट अ शेयर होल्डर फंड.
right.
You know, so somewhere the students needs to understand the logics, the members needs to understand the logic. और इसी वजह से शायद those who are more robotic in their working, they are more afraid of AI, क्योंकि AI robotic को तो वो कर देगा, but how AI will replace human intelligence is a big question. So I think we all need to work on the human intelligence. Yeah, please continue.
Now, when this discussion was going on for CSR, the story is not over only by non-consolidation. What we need to understand, even if there is no consolidation, still, whatever contribution is being made to NGO, that is XYZ Foundation, it still remains RPT under Ind AS. And that is what the today's landscape in auditing is. So these are the initial remarks. If I go a bit on different side of statutory audit, the different side of statutory audit as on date has extended itself to certain new domains also. Gone are the days when we used to say statutory audit means companies audit. Statutory audits, first of all, need to be understood that statutory audit is a coined word. It is a customary word, not a kind of a legal word written in the act. So when we people say statutory audit, the initial, the initial triggering point is audit under Companies Act. So that's the story of past. As on date, Muskan, I must tell you, as a youngster, you must inculcate this kind of a new domain also, that today's landscape has extended statutory audit not only to company law audit, but also to ESG audit.
Yeah, correct.
You must have heard of ESG. ESG
Yes,
stands
sir.
for Environment, Society,
Environment,
Governance.
social.
ESG audits, a new landscape and very high demand landscape. This ESG audit is under demand, not only in India, but outside Indian territorial jurisdictions. ESG audit, in ESG, there are many, many good concepts like greenwashing. Chartered accountants are very fit and fittable resources for this greenwashing. Then we have ESG litigation. ESG litigation comes later on after ESG audit is completed. So these are the new domains. Then we have sustainability audits. In India, we call it as BRSR. Abroad, it is sustainability. So sustainability audits are also there. And Gauravji may vouch my words. Very few people are into these new domains of audits, ESG audits or sustainability audits. Then we have one more category of audit. I don't know how many of you have heard of it, social audits. Last to last year, social audits were made mandatory by SEBI when this concept of social stock exchange came into being. So ICDR regulations issued by SEBI were amended. And if my memory serves me right, Chapter 10A was introduced in SEBI ICDR norms, and social audit is there in law now. So that is also a part of audit. So many new things have come up. And when we say statutory audit, only one conclusive line which I must deliberate immediately. Please do not think statutory audit as merely a page filling exercise. I emphasize and I repeat, do not assume, do not presume that statutory audit is merely a page filling exercise. Please shun away this habit to collect the past audit reports, change the figures, tally the balance sheet, matter over. No, it is not like that. Audit means that you have to vouch properly. And when I say properly, I'm not saying 100% vouching. Today, the law is risk-based audit. We need to understand what is risk-based audit. For this purpose, we have standards also. By the way, one word I just stated, standards. How many auditing standards are there? So close to 43 auditing standards are there. And in these auditing standards, we have SA 315 and SA 330, which are, I must say, the boon for chartered accountants who are doing statutory audits, whereby we do carry out risk-based audit. And these things are quite critical. Similarly, when I say ESG audit, whenever time permits, each of the listener, you may further explore on Google what is ESG audit, what is sustainability audit, what is social audit, what is quality audit. And these way the things will be on a very favorable side, and I believe the challenges could be overcome. So this is from my side. Maybe I am here. You have some questions, you may ask me later.
Sir, there is a myth, basically a myth कि stat audit is like independent opinion देना and internal audit is like किसी के दबाव में काम करना. Basically it's a myth. Student को जो सिखाया जाता है मतलब as an जब वो students होते हैं.
So you have already given the question as well as answer. It's a myth only. More than statutory audit function, now we should first of all ask ourselves, are we doing statutory audit just for the sake of doing it? If the answer is yes, we are doing statutory audit just for the sake of doing it, I would say we should say no, I will not do statutory audits.
Correct.
Simply because you will have a fountain pen to sign the audit report.
Correct.
It will not be a good idea of a pride to take in.
Sir, you have said कि we haven't done analyze because we are more about data collection and all. So in my experience, I have done the analysis, but my senior said कि इतना क्यों कर रहे हो? They are limited to what a client paid for. तो मतलब करने ही नहीं देता है कोई.
तो आपको ये सोचना चाहिए ना मुस्कान कि अगर आपका सीनियर आपको करने नहीं दे रहा तो क्या यही नहीं करने दे रहा वाला कल्चर आप जब कैरी करोगे जब सीए बन जाओगे?
No,
क्या
sir.
तब आप ये कहोगे कि मैं अब सीए बन गई हूँ तो तब भी नहीं किया था, अब भी नहीं करूंगी?
No, I don't think so.
So that culture needs to be changed. When Gaurav ji and me were CA students, there can be many such practices which we never did.
Correct.
But now when we started our own independent practices, we have changed a lot, not only our mindset, but our culture also. So this is a matter of change. Generation gap happens, but generation gap should not remain a gap always.
Correct.
थैंक यू कमल भाई. नाउ आपने जब स्टार्ट किया तो ऐसा होता है ना कि एकदम पहले झंझोड़ दिया कि जो आपकी क्वेश्चन पूछ लिए हमें आंसर नहीं आते थे. मतलब मैं तो ऑडिट करता ही नहीं, खैर, बट स्टिल आई थिंक दैट वाज अ वेरी गुड सेल्फ एनालिसिस, सेल्फ चेक व्हिच यू हैव डन. And to all the members and students, I think the question is not whether you are doing it or not. The question is whether you are understanding why you need to do a stat audit and what market expects from you, and what various stakeholder expects from you. If you are not delivering what is expected, then people will stop taking delivery from you, and then you will say कि यार ICI कुछ नहीं कर रहा, फिर ICI क्या करेगा? आपको चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट बना रही है, जो आपको करना है वो तो आपको ही करना है. All of us have some role to play. Institute comes up with accounting standard, auditing standard, Ind AS, forensic standards, internal audit standards, but उसको पढ़ के उसको implement करने की responsibility is of members and is of students who are actually working on the assignments. Thank you, Kamal Bhai. And now let's move on to the internal audit. Ashish Bansal ji. So Muskan, let's have a questions for Ashish ji
Yes,
for
sir.
the internal audit and risk advice. Over to you, Muskan.
Yes, sir. So basically, we have a doubt as a student. What is basically internal audit? What are we are supposed to do? Like basically, I am knowing like we are giving suggestion, correct, as an internal audit, but they are not independent. What is it's a myth in a students. So can you please elaborate?
Yeah, good morning to everyone.
Yes, sir.
And I thank you, Gaurav ji and Kamal ji, for Gaurav ji for creating this platform and Kamal ji to creating the foundation for me to make it understand. And I also got certain questions in the chat box and from Muskan to answer. And it makes a little bit easy for me to start. So coming, there was a question कि दबाव में काम करते हैं इंटरनल ऑडिटर या स्टैट्यूटरी ऑडिटर एक इंडिपेंडेंटली काम करते हैं. कमल जी ने उसका करेक्टली आंसर दिया था कि इट इज अ माइंडसेट इशू, इट इज अ कल्चरल इशू विद एनी पर्सन. There are statutory auditor, if you do it, you may feel certain pressure from the management side or from the client side or different due to different reasons, and it may happen into the internal audit field also. But to answer your question, I would say that the internal auditors have revealed a lots of internal fraud or the financial frauds in the past. If you see from 2001 onwards, especially, these financial frauds and the corporate frauds have evolved or these have been surfaced. Be it Enron, WorldCom, HealthCon, or your Satyam, Madoff, or the Lemon, whatever. All these frauds have been evolved and has been surfaced by the internal auditors. So, in case there is a pressure, there is something like curtailing down, limiting the scope from the management side, these fraud would not have evolved or this would not never be surfaced. So yes, it is a mindset or the personal opinion of the person to take a call or not. In certain cases, in case of our WorldCom, there was a limitation on the scope of the internal auditor, which they have challenged at the audit committee meeting, and then they have got the extension of their scope of work. So it is always a matter of thing that what you are doing, whether you believe it or not, and for what you are doing it. So in case you believe that what the internal auditor is doing, it is good for company, it's good for stakeholder, it's good for society, and how important it is for them. If you understand that thing, that pressure will ease out, and definitely you will make a call to make a harmonious balance between the management expectation and between the expectation which is from the society or from the other stakeholder. There was a question in the chat box by Tarun Garg. He has asked that does internal auditor can be influenced by the management? To say this, I would say that there is a scope of internal audit, like what the internal auditor will do. Definitely, this scope is designed by the internal audit committee of the company, and the scope is many times evolved or fixed by the management. But yes, there are certain areas like making the risk assessment. So where the risk lies, it is a sole pursuit of this internal auditor that they have to assess the risk and they have to bring it on the table whether the risk has to be mitigated, whether there should be an sufficient barricades to those risks. So taking the risk assessment is a call of the internal auditor. He has to put everything on the board. Yes, the scope is defined by the management, but it cannot be restricted in case some risk activity or the control lapses is highlighted by the internal auditor. I believe I could answer your question.
आशीष जी एंड कमल जी, क्वेश्चन आप दोनों के लिए. आई थिंक समवेयर वी स्किप दैट क्वेश्चन एंड which is important. Let's say if as a student or if as a freshly qualified chartered accountant, I need to choose a field, whether I should go into the statutory audit or let's say the company's audit, ESG or risk advisory or internal audit. ये आता ना कमल भाई, क्वेश्चन आता है मतलब, एंड समटाइम व्हाट हैपेंस कि जो हमें काम मिलता है उसी की डायरेक्शन में बढ़ने लगते हैं.
Yes.
बट लेट्स से समवन पीपल लाइक स्टिकी, जैसे आप हो, मैं हूँ, आशीष, हम जहाँ वी आर स्टिकी पीपल, वी डू व्हाट वी वांट एंड वी डोंट डू एनीथिंग, मतलब हम हर चीज नहीं करना चाहेंगे. तो हम जैसे स्टिकी जो पीपल होते हैं कि यार उनको एक डिसीजन लेना पड़ता है कि क्या करें, वो वरना कंफ्यूज रहेंगे. तो व्हाट शुड बी द डिसीजन क्राइटेरिया कि what kind of people, yeah, what kind of mindset is good for internal audit and what kind of mindset is good for statutory audit, or this question is useless because the one who is doing statutory audit can do also internal audit. But generally मैंने ऐसे देखा है, why I'm asking this question, I have few friends who enjoy doing internal audit, उनको statutory audit में मजा नहीं आता. एंड आई हैव फ्रेंड्स जिनको स्टैट्यूटरी ऑडिट में मजा आता है, कंपनीज ऑडिट में मजा आता है, उनको इंटरनल ऑडिट में मजा नहीं आता. तो ये क्या क्राइटेरिया है कि व्हाई सम पीपल एंजॉय इंटरनल ऑडिट, व्हाई सम पीपल एंजॉय कंपनीज? इस पे इफ यू कैन थ्रो अ लाइट व्हिच माइट गाइड आवर स्टूडेंट्स एंड मेंबर्स टू टेक अ कॉल.
Yes, Gaurav this is a very good question, and sometimes it's a kind of a yaksh prashna that which side should I do, and what should be the mindset of a statutory auditor, and what should be the mindset of an internal auditor. I would say that taking a decision is a personal thing, but to my understanding and from my experience, what I have learned is statutory auditor or the statutory audit, whatever kind of audit we are doing, statutory auditor basically, which is an audit required mandatorily under any statute. It is a statutory audit. So mainly the statutory audit is a rule-based audit. There are certain rules, there are certain guidelines, there are certain reporting patterns. What is expected from the auditor to report? The Companies Act report is there. So there are specific rules, 143.3, and the audit and accounts rules are there. Then there are 10 number of items or 20 number of items which you are required to report. Maybe auditor can take a call that, okay, if something comes to my knowledge, which is not required to be reported under law, should I report it or not? It is his personal call. So that is why I believe that the statutory audit is a kind of a rule-based audit, but the internal audit is a principle-based audit. You assess, you take a vocal call, and you make the risk assessment on your own, and you see that, okay, from a proprietary perspective, what should be done through any process. So internal audit also includes the review of the processes. It is not confined to the financial transaction or the reporting statements only. It is enlarged to the processing also. Okay, if the material is coming, how the material is being handled, how the GRM will be done, how the security will check. So whether there are certain internal controls involved into this, what are the possibility of the risk of the fraud, what kind of fraud can happen into this. So it is totally based upon the principles that how the process should be done. And that is why the internal auditor is having a deep down knowledge about all the intricated or the very delicate business processes. He works on a very minute level to the end user, to the last person into the organization. He works with them, and he understands how the business process is being done, how the things are happening, how the data is recorded, how there are audit trail, whether there are sufficient audit trail involved into the system or not, which the auditor, the statutory auditor may find during their audit. It will be a kind of a supporting help for him to understand that, okay, there are certain audit trail which the internal control process has left for me to verify. So he works on a very minute and a ground level, and that is why I would say that in case the CFO asks us newly qualified chartered accountant that, okay, you have done an internal audit, but we are not having a scope of internal audit. How will you contribute to the organization? The answer of that candidate would be, sir, I know the business. I know the business processes. and I understand that how the business is being done. I can find out the issues, I can suggest the answers, and those answers are not written somewhere. It will be the tailor-made solution to the organization, which are practical, aligned with its own business strategies. So
Okay,
the
Kamal
mindset,
bhai,
yes.
आपका क्या व्यू है? सॉरी कमल जी, आपका क्या व्यू है quickly on the mindset?
Before I give my concluding remark, this question, let us first go us backstage. What happens in the mindset? एक सीए जब नया नया बनता है उसके माइंड में क्या चल रहा होता है, एक बार हम उस साइकोलॉजी को समझने की कोशिश करते हैं. एंड गौरव जी, करेक्ट मी इफ आई एम रॉन्ग समवेयर. केस नंबर 1, आज एक बच्चा नया सीए बना और उसके, मान लीजिए उसके पेपर ऑडिट में 80 मार्क्स आ जाते हैं. साइकोलॉजी नंबर 1, I got 80 marks in audit paper. I will make my career in audit paper because I scored good marks. तो बस यहाँ पर एक सवाल पूछना चाहिए अपने से कि मैं जो ऑडिट में करियर बना रहा हूँ, whether I am going to make my career in auditing out of my interest or out of my impulsion. When I was a CA final student, I scored 82 in direct taxes. But direct taxes का मेरा दूर दूर से कोई लेना देना नहीं है. And thankfully Gaurav ji is doing international taxation. We are in safe hands. Second psychology is, you did training in audit firm and you did entire 2-3 years of your training in audit only. किसी और फील्ड के बारे में सोचने का मौका ही नहीं मिला. So that caused unawareness and that causes a fear factor also. मैंने कोई नया काम कभी किया ही नहीं तो मैं किसी और फील्ड में जा नहीं सकता. So then it became a tight compartment. So both are two extremes. Third thing is hearsay. What is the hearsay? For example, somebody may say कि जीएसटी में रोज रोज अमेंडमेंट्स आती हैं, हाउ मच यू हैव टू स्टडी. Somebody may say statutory audit is a safe field. Somebody may also say statutory audit is a very cumbersome field because NAFRA is there. So all kinds of plus and minus goes on. What I learned from my own career, let us trust the process called as transformation process. Invest your initial years, at least 2 years, to know what exactly you are. You are much more than what you became as a chartered accountant. So for example, the result is declared. Now you are eligible to become a member of ICAI. Join some firm or join some industry, that is your call. Then trust the process. And what will happen after this process? You chose the job on day 1. After 2 years, job will choose you. अगर मैं इसको आसान भाषा में बोलूं, 2 चीजें हैं, या तो आप जॉब को चुनोगे या जॉब आपको चुनेगी. जॉब का मतलब यहाँ पर मेरा एम्प्लॉयमेंट से नहीं है, प्रैक्टिस भी हो सकती है. So either field will choose you or you will choose the field. In fact, field chooses you. But you have to pass through that process. Why this process? Once you will make an entry into the system, you will get to know what exactly your SWOT analysis is. और वहां पर फिर क्या होगा, आपको ये पता चलेगा कि मैं एक अच्छा स्टूडेंट तो था ऑडिट में, लेकिन क्या मैं एक अच्छा प्रोफेशनल बन सकूंगा ऑडिट में? If the answer is no, who will tell you this answer? Examiner will not tell you this answer. This answer will be given to you by your senior, जहां पर आप काम कर रहे हैं या जिसके लिए आप काम कर रहे हैं. This answer will be given to you by your client. अगर आप प्रैक्टिस में हो तो क्लाइंट का आपने ऑडिट किया, आपको लगा क्लाइंट का ऑडिट तो मैंने किया बट आई एम नॉट गेटिंग हैप्पी. So what will happen? You will then make some efforts to change the landscape. So at least invest some time in initial years. It is not like heaven is going to fall within next 2 days. Generally, students are in the hurry mode. कि आज मैं सीए बनाऊं, कल ही मेरे पास सब कुछ होना चाहिए. That never happens, or that rarely happens, I should say. So please trust the process. Invest some time on yourself. थोड़ा समय दीजिए अपने आप को, समझिए कि सिस्टम क्या है, इंडस्ट्री क्या है, काम कैसे होता है. It is not only about marksheet or ranks. थोड़ा सा आपको समय देना पड़ेगा. आज गौरव जी बोल रहे हैं कि he is expert in international taxation. आज गौरव जी इंट्रोड्यूस करा रहे हैं स्पीकर्स को. मुकुल भाई is expert in forensic audits. आशीष भाई is expert in internal audits. But इन्होंने एक चीज नहीं बताई. Day 1 when they became chartered accountant. जितना मेरा तजर्बा है, जितना मेरा सोचना है, डे 1 पर तो हम में से किसी को भी नहीं पता था कि हम कहाँ जाने वाले हैं। ये तो आज हमें पता चला कि हम कहाँ आ चुके हैं और कहाँ आना चाहिए था। So at least what happened, you may take a clue from our journey that we invested some initial years of our life as a chartered accountant to know what exactly we are. We are much more than members of ICI. ICI ने तो हमें एंट्री टिकट दे दिया, अब ड्राइविंग सीट पे तो हमें ही बैठा है। तो ड्राइविंग सीट पे बैठने के लिए पहले बनता है लर्निंग लाइसेंस। तो वो लर्निंग लाइसेंस के लिए आपको थोड़ा समय खुद इन्वेस्ट करना पड़ेगा, मे बी साल के शुरू के 6 महीने या 1 साल या 2 साल, प्लस दी प्रोसेस। और उसके बाद आपको लगेगा पता कि व्हाट वी हैव टू डू, हाउ वी हैव टू डू। बिकॉज अभी क्या होता है, द बिगेस्ट पार्ट ऑफ दिस जर्नी इज व्हेन यू आर इनटू आर्टिकलशिप, यू डोंट हैव एनी ओनर्स टू द इंडस्ट्री। कुछ गलत हो जाएगा तो आपका सीनियर मैनेज करेगा, आप सॉरी कहकर अपने आप को आगे के लिए ट्रेन कर सकते हैं। लेकिन जब आप इंडस्ट्री में आते हैं एज अ प्रैक्टिशनर या एज अ सर्विस पर्सन, देयर इज नथिंग कॉल्ड एज सॉरी माय सीनियर विल मैनेज, यू हैव टू मैनेज। तो वो वाला जो स्ट्रेंथ है, वो वाला जो वीकनेस है, वो भी तो पता होना चाहिए, और उसके बिना काम नहीं होगा। अभी वी हैव अ काइंड ऑफ अ प्रोटेक्शन क्लाउड सराउंडिंग अस। वो प्रोटेक्शन क्लाउड आपके सीनियर्स का भी है, आपके पेरेंट्स का भी है, आपके यार दोस्तों का भी है। वो प्रोटेक्शन क्लाउड खत्म हो जाएगा जब आप सीए बनकर इंडस्ट्री सिस्टम में आते हैं। गौरव जी की एक स्माइल आ रही है चेहरे पर, तो शायद ये अपने इतिहास में चले गए हैं, याद आ गया होगा इनको कि कब मैं सीए बना था, क्या हुआ था। एंड दैट इज व्हाट अ जर्नी इज।
आई कैन शेयर। कमल भाई, आपने कहा ना कि फील्ड चूजेस यू, तो मुझे फील्ड ने कैसे चूज किया। आई डिड आर्टिकलशिप फ्रॉम अ दिल्ली बेस्ड फर्म। मैं वहाँ ऑडिट की आर्टिकलशिप थी। तो क्वालिफाई करने के बाद मेरा मन था कि मैं इनकम टैक्स में जाऊँ। तो आई टोल्ड माय पार्टनर्स कि आई वांट टू डू टैक्स, सो आई डोंट वांट टू डू ऑडिट, आप मुझे टैक्स में शिफ्ट कर दीजिए। दे सेड कि गौरव, आप ट्रांसफराइजिंग कर लो। मैं टीपी है वो 2-3 पेजों का है, मैम उसमें क्या मजा आएगा। द लेडी यूज टू मोहिंदोपुरी से आई डिड आर्टिकलशिप, तो अनुराधा मैम यूज टू टेक अ कॉल। तो उन्होंने कहा गौरव, अक्टूबर तक ट्रांसफराइजिंग कर लो, उसके बाद वी विल शिफ्ट यू टू द इनकम टैक्स। दिस इज हाउ फील्ड चूजेस मी, चूज मी कि अच्छा हम ही गौरव को टीपी के लिए बुलाते हैं। एंड देन आई डिड ट्रांसफराइजिंग फॉर 4-5 months। वो कंप्लायंस पीरियड निकालना था। उसके बाद तब से लेकर आज तक टीपी से जाने का मन नहीं करा। So that's how field choose me, and then I stick to that। आलसी तो मैं ही, तो हमने कहा चलो यहाँ आगे तो यहीं रहते हैं, and I'm enjoying। But yes, I fully agree that आपको ना जल्दी में नहीं होना। एंड आई समटाइम्स से इसकी यार, इतने बड़े करियर में 1-2 साल कोई मैटर नहीं करते। जैसे कमल जी हैं, आशीष जी हैं, मुकुल जी हैं, एंड कमल भाई टॉक्ड अबाउट लर्निंग लाइसेंस। मेरे ख्याल से वो लर्निंग लाइसेंस ना आप रिन्यू कराते रहो, बिकॉज स्टिल ऑल 3 or 4 of us आर लर्निंग। कमल भाई किताब लिखते हैं तो उससे पहले पढ़ के समझते भी होंगे, कोई ना कोई नया स्टैंडर्ड आ गया उसको सीखते होंगे, बाहर के देशों में क्या चल रहा है, बाकी प्रोफेशनल्स क्या कर रहे हैं। आशीष जी, मुकुल जी, सो वन पॉइंट विच ऑल ऑफ यू नीड टू रिमेंबर, if you really want to grow in this profession, keep that learning instinct alive, keep that learner, that student within you alive। सो नाउ आशीष भाई, कुछ और इंटरनल ऑडिट पे, अब अपॉर्चुनिटी पे क्या लगता है, हाउ
Yeah,
गुड
sir.
इंटरनल ऑडिट इज इन द फ्यूचर?
There is a lots of opportunity. See, you people are guiding me to for my next thing. So I would like to add how the field chooses you. It is that once you start enjoying, once you start learning that okay, what you are doing is meaningful, and you enjoy doing this is how the field chooses you. So, like internal audit, if you start enjoying, you putting your effort that, okay, how the risk assessment has to be made, how I need to do the critical thinking, how the project has to be managed, what are the aspects I need to review, going beyond your boundaries, going beyond your books and all. This is how it is required. So for internal audit, there is a lots of scope, which I believe that it is not confined to the, doing the procedural audits only. Internal auditor by the knowledge or the in depth knowledge he gained throughout the process makes him the best suitable person to develop the standard operating procedures for a company. The economy is growing. the people are going. There are so many first generation billionaire or first generation startups. The people are growing like anything. So the economy is growing. When the economy, the size of business is growing, there is a need of standardizing the procedures. If you start a retail shop today, there can be 100 retail shop after 1 year or 2 year or 5 year down the line. You need to manage all those things without going everywhere. So you need to develop the standard operating procedures, which can be utilized uniformly, it can be used everywhere. So the development of SOP is one thing. When there is a possibilities and there are instances that the ERP is implemented afresh into a company. So the internal auditors team is the best choice for the company to get the implementation of this ERP done, doing the critical analysis of the reports and the procedures which will be flowed, the workflow of the ERP, whether there are certain issues, lapses. So the inputs of internal audit team is always taken. I know many companies in which the ERP was first implemented and the people from the team of internal audit were those were taken up. That okay, you know each and every process, you know each and every team, their work. You can get this ERP developed. And then there are internal control issues. What are the internal controls should be set up? Internal auditor are the best persons to do it. And doing the FAFD, because we as an internal auditor are always susceptible to the frauds and leakages that might happen into the system. So as a FAFD, this is another branch of internal audit which we can extend going for the forensics also. That okay, when doing the forensic, there may be the needs of evidence. How the evidence should be incorporated or inculcated into the system itself. Anything happens, the evidence would be there. So these are the things, doing the risk assessment, these definitely those are the prime objective or the concern area. And there is a different aspect of doing another thing. It's called business process re-engineering. I have seen many companies which have seen the downfall, and after taking over or the merger, their entire business process is re-engineered. Why there was a need of doing the business process engineering? Because the previous system did not that collapsed. So the internal auditor having the knowledge of entire business processes, building how one process affects another, how the workflow will happen. Those are the best person to do the business process re-engineering. Obviously, the knowledge is the part. Just being into the internal audit department, you cannot do anything. You have to put your best effort to understand the process, to implement the process, to understand the risk also. And another thing is, as a student, what is there for me in internal? So as an internal audit, there are so many technical things which are developed throughout this process, like doing the risk assessment, financial acumen. They do the financial analysis of the transactions also, not only the financial transaction, but also the process transactions also. The internal control evaluation they do, they learn and how the process can be improved. It is not only that they always pinpoint the issue, they also give the suggestions, the practical suggestions. So that's a real value addition to the business. And there are certain things where the internal auditor can also add value towards the IT and cyber auditing also. So this is what they learn. On the soft skill side, they learn the critical thinking. They go to attention to the details minutely. So many things, there are lots of things you can learn. It's a ever-ending, never-ending process, ever learning process. Every day you learn a new thing.
Thank you, Ashish bhai. You gave a good perspective. I think now members and students both are clear what it needs to become an statutory auditor, and what it needs to take internal audit, and what are the opportunities in the field ahead. Now, Ashish bhai, while giving his closing remarks, he talked about the forensic audit. And to discuss this newest baby in the audit field, we have Mukul Agarwal ji with us. Mukul ji has got more than 20 years of experience in post-qualification experience and he's a visiting faculty to CBI, to CAG, to ICI, and regularly involved in forensic audits. I think Muskan has left maybe because of some internet connection, so I took the opportunity to introduce Mukulji. So Mukulji, now if you can briefly tell about what forensic audit is, and what are the opportunities and challenges in the forensic audit. Over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Gaurav. So, as you rightly, forensic audit is the newest. I would not say newest now. Now, social audit and ESG is already there.
Just one thing, it may happen that not many firms are doing forensic. So the students who are there or the members who are listening, they may not be very well versed with the forensic. तो आप थोड़ा बताएं, बट हाँ मैं क्लियर करते रहें चीजें कहीं भी आपको लगे.
हाँ. So basically, forensic audit is now old audit. In India, it is new. It is now almost 10 years since forensic audit has come into prominence. But worldwide, forensic audit is a very big field as of today. क्योंकि जब हम बात करते हैं कि एक ह्यूमन नेचर क्या है, सो वेयर एवर देयर आर ह्यूमंस द ग्रीड इज देयर. और अगर ग्रीड है तो फ्रॉड्स होंगे ही, और फ्रॉड्स हैं तो फॉरेंसिक ऑडिटर्स मैंडेटरी हैं. अब फॉरेंसिक ऑडिट यू कैन से इज more deep diving than a normal internal audit. Why I say so कि forensic audit start ही हम ऐसे करते हैं कि यार एक चोर है एंड उस चोर को हमें पकड़ना है. Whereas जब हम इंटरनल ऑडिट करते हैं या स्टैट्यूटरी ऑडिट करते हैं, हम कहते हैं सब कुछ ठीक है, कुछ निकल जाता है तो बता देंगे. बट फॉरेंसिक ऑडिट वी आर डे वन वी आर क्लियर कि देयर इज अ फ्रॉड एंड वी हैव टू फाइंड आउट दैट फ्रॉड एंड वी हैव टू डीप डाइव इनटू द फ्रॉड. नाउ हम कहते हैं वह फॉरेंसिक ऑडिट के अगर मैं प्रॉस एंड कॉन्स बताऊं टू बी स्पेसिफिक, तो फर्स्ट इज फॉरेंसिक ऑडिट में इट इज नॉट सो मच सिस्टमैटिक एज द इंटरनल ऑडिट और स्टैट्यूटरी ऑडिट इज, बिकॉज when I am going to find out the fraud, I cannot expect the person, accused person or the company to cooperate with me. तो जो डेटा हमें इंटरनल ऑडिट या स्टैट ऑडिट या इन एनी अदर ऑडिट वी गेट द डेटा वेरी इजीली. फॉरेंसिक ऑडिट वी हैव टू डिग फॉर द डेटा. That is one of the biggest limitation we have in forensic audit. We have to dig for the data निकालना है. Then there are other kind of pressures which we face in forensic audit. First, accused would be pressurizing you like anything. From all the areas, whatever way they can do, साम दाम दंड भेद, वो सब कुछ यूज करेंगे आपके लिए, so that आप वो बच जाए. Third, to prove the forensic audit, I say the kick in the forensic audit is what is exactly forensic audit. Forensic audit is the audit where the deliverables stand the court of law. Just saying that Mukul Agarwal has done a fraud, court cannot punish me. I have to have that evidence, concrete evidence as per the Indian Evidence Act and as per the CRPC and everything, कि मैं उसे फ्रॉड बोल पाऊं और वो कोर्ट में साबित हो जाए. तो फॉरेंसिक ऑडिट इज कि हमें कई बार होता है कि हमें पता है फ्रॉडस्टर इज देयर, वी हैव द एविडेंस, बट दैट एविडेंस कैन नॉट स्टैंड द कोर्ट ऑफ लॉ. सो देयर वी हैव अ लिमिटेशन. थर्ड, we have to have a good understanding about the processes of the company. Our understanding should be clear about the processes. So that is the forensic audit, you can say the disadvantage or the limitations in forensic audit. Now let's come to the advantage of forensic audit. Today I would say forensic audit is one of the most growing practice areas in India and even in the world. What kind of forensic audit we can see? First, a normal financial forensics. Then you have crowdfunding forensics. Then you have matrimonial forensics. Then you have insurance forensics. So you name it and you would have find forensic into that. And now, what is matrimonial forensic? Today, there is a divorce happening between a husband and a wife. Wife doesn't know what is the actual net worth of the husband. And if she doesn't know the actual net worth of the husband, on what basis she would ask for the alimony in the court? She engages a forensic auditor to actually find out the net worth of the husband, or vice versa. What is crowdfunding forensics? Crowdfunding forensic is basically the forensic where there are a lot of crowdfunding platforms available in the market. Many of them are genuine, many of them are fraud or fake platforms are there. So where actually the money has gone into, because India specifically is a very big market for money laundering, because we as a country, we are dealing with terrorism in a big way. So money laundering plays a very, very important role in the whole aspect of the economy. So crowdfunding forensics, from that angle also, we have to cover it out. Then comes the financial forensics, which is as a chartered accountant we can do. Then you have digital forensics. Digital forensics is basically the data which is there in your laptop, in your desktop, in your servers, which can be retrieved. There's a misnomer. I think now everybody is very clear that the data in the laptop, in the hard disk, or in the mobile cannot be deleted. It can only be overwritten, and unless until data is overwritten for 3 to 4 times, that data can be retrieved anytime. It is always available in your instrument or in your hard disk. So digital forensic is one part. Then you have cyber security, again another part of forensic field, where you have VAPT, which is vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. There are ransomware attacks. That is also now coming in the form of forensics. So in forensic, there are a lot of areas where we can go into. And it is one of the most upcoming area and most influential area right now in India. I have, with due respect to Kamal ji, Ashish ji, and Gaurav, very frankly, how I entered forensic is I was not into that monotonous work going on, checking the vouchers and checking all those stuff. एक खुराफाती mindset था day one से. So that's how the forensic field came into. नहीं तो हमें statutory audit में हमें सारा सब कुछ चेक करना, वाउचिंग करनी होती है, चेकलिस्ट होती है, वी हैव टू टिक द चेकलिस्ट, वी हैव टू कंप्लीट द डॉक्यूमेंटेशन. इन फोरेंसिक जब हम किसी, अब एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल लेता हूँ एक केस का. In one logistic company, the financial controller engaged us that there's some employee fraud has happened in the company, and please check the employee fraud and make the report so that we can put that person behind bars. When we started, it was the same case, but जब वो assignment complete हुआ, the surprising fact was the financial controller जो था, जिसने हमें engage करा था, he was the main culprit. मतलब जिसको एक्यूज बोला था वो तो सिर्फ एक एलिबाई था. मेन कल्प्रिट वो था फाइनेंशियल कंट्रोलर, बिकॉज वो अपने आप को बचाने के लिए दूसरे को एक्यूज बना के हमें लेके आ गया. बट फॉरेंसिक में हम घुसे तो पता चला कि यार ये तो सिनेरियो कुछ और हो गया. सो एवरी डे इट इज अ न्यू चैलेंज इन फॉरेंसिक फील्ड. और जब तक आपका अंदर से क्यूरियोसिटी नहीं जागेगी तब तक फॉरेंसिक डिफिकल्ट हो जाता है. ठीक है, तो दैट इज पार्ट ऑफ फॉरेंसिक ऑडिट्स. देन कम्स द अपॉर्चुनिटीज. आज के दिन कौन सी एजेंसीज फॉरेंसिक ऑडिट करा रही हैं? आपके सारे इकोनॉमिक ऑफेंस विंग, सारी पुलिस डिपार्टमेंट करा रहे, इकोनॉमिक ऑफेंस विंग्स करा रही हैं. रेरा में हो रहा है फॉरेंसिक, इंश्योरेंस में हो रहा है, सेबी करा रही है, एसएफआईओ करा रही है, एनआईए करा रही है, ईडी करा रही है, सीबीआई करा रही है, इनकम टैक्स करा रहे हैं, जीएसटी करा रहे हैं, एम्प्लॉय फ्रॉड्स अलग हो रहे हैं, ट्रांजैक्शन ऑडिट्स हैं. इंश्योरेंस कंपनी जब स्टार्ट कर चुकी है इंडिया में फॉरेंसिक कराना इन बिग केसेस. सो यू नेम इट एंड यू वुड फाइंड दैट इन ईच एंड एवरी एरिया फॉरेंसिक इज देयर. वन थिंग आई वांट टू टेल दैट द रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी इन फॉरेंसिक ऑडिट इज वेरी ह्यूज. आज मैंने एक फॉरेंसिक ऑडिट करा, मैंने चाहे उसको फ्रॉड बोला, चाहे उसको क्लीन रिपोर्ट दी, सम ईयर्स डाउन द लाइन सीबीआई भी मुझे कॉल कर सकता है और प्रमोटर्स भी मुझे बोल सकते हैं यार तुमने फ्रॉड बोल दिया, फ्रॉड किस बेस पे बोल दिया. सो माय डॉक्यूमेंटेशन हैज टू बी परफेक्ट एंड मैं एक एक वर्ड जो लिखता हूं दैट हैज टू बी वेरी क्लियर, एंड टुमारो इन कोर्ट ऑफ लॉ आई हैव टू प्रूव दैट. दैट इज द रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी आई हैव. फिर एक क्वेश्चन आता है कि यार फिर तो स्टैट्यूटरी ऑडिट और इंटरनल ऑडिट से ज्यादा रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है फॉरेंसिक ऑडिट में, बिल्कुल है आज। बट इफ यू सी फ्रॉम माय पर्सपेक्टिव, स्टैट्यूटरी ऑडिट में कौन सी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी कम हो गई है? अब नेफ्रा आ गया है, आप स्टैट्यूटरी ऑडिट में कुछ भी करते हैं नेफ्रा आपको पकड़ता है। सो यू हैव रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी एवरीवेयर, कम ज्यादा होती रहती है, बट यस, forensic audit is a very good field. One thing which we can do is, which I always tell in my lectures also, in internal audits and statutory audits, the kind of sample we take, हम sample select कैसे करते हैं? We can use few of the theorems of forensic audit in selecting the samples for statutory audit and internal audit, which we can say Benford's law, rules, algorithm. और वो as a firm, मेरी firm में वो होना start हो चुका है, and it is giving very good results. And it is scientific, एक आपका ऑडिट ट्रेल बन जाता है और वो आपको स्टैट्यूटरी और इंटरनल ऑडिट में भी हेल्प करता है।
Okay. So, certainly forensic is one of the upcoming field, but yes, जैसा मुकुल जी ने कहा कि monotonous, मेरा ऐसा मानना है कि nothing is monotonous. It's all depend where you get rush, where you get नशा या मजा. जैसे for example, there are players, who like to play chess, and there would be few of us who would like to play cricket, and there would be few of us, who would like to invest time on a table tennis or on a badminton court. तो आपको किस चीज में मजा आ रहा है, जिस चीज में मजा आ रहा है वो चीज अच्छी है, और जिस चीज में नहीं आ रहा वो कहीं ना कहीं मोनोटोनस आपको लगने लगती है. सो इट इज ऑल योर टेस्ट. बट मुकुल जी, आई हैव वन क्वेश्चन फॉर यू. जैसे मोस्ट ऑफ अस, assuming I am a student, I'm doing articleship in audit, statutory audit या internal audit, and if tomorrow after qualifying I come to you कि यार मुझे please hire कर लीजिए, then you will say you have got experience in audit या internal audit and forensic is very in depth. तो आप कैसे hire करोगे? या to put it in another way, if someone wants to make career in forensic audit, how he can invest his first 2 years of articleship, क्या करे वो, and maybe after qualifying वो क्या कर सकता है, so that he gets the opportunity in the forensic audit. Over to
See,
you.
basically today as an article also forensic field में आप firms are hiring, even the big fours are hiring in forensic field. That is one part. Other than that, what we prefer is, अगर एक CA है जो internal audit background से आया है, तो उसका थॉट प्रोसेस ज्यादा क्लियर होता है कंपेयर टू स्टैट्यूटरी ऑडिट विच इज बेसिकली नंबर्स. तो इंटरनल ऑडिट प्लेटफॉर्म से जो इसको प्रोसेसेस पता है, तो वहां पे फ्रॉड निकालना हमारे लिए इजी हो जाता है, राइट? तो वो वी वुड डेफिनेटली लाइक दैट पर्सन, बट व्हाट वी चेक व्हेन वी टेक अ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट विद द इंटरनल ऑडिट बैकग्राउंड इज हाउ मच ही इज क्यूरियस अबाउट एनीथिंग. अब एक एग्जांपल लेते हैं. आज हम सब ने हिडनबर्ग रिपोर्ट, अडानी के बारे में हिडनबर्ग रिपोर्ट और ये सब न्यूज में आता रहता है. एक बंदा आया जी, मुझे चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट की, मुझे फॉरेंसिक में आना है. सबसे पहला क्वेश्चन ये है यार कि जो लेटेस्ट हिडनबर्ग रिपोर्ट आपने क्या पढ़ा उसके बारे में? वो कहता है जी मैंने तो पढ़ा ही नहीं है. तो उसकी क्यूरियोसिटी लेवल उतना नहीं है. आज मुझे कोई कहता है कि यार, मतलब एक एग्जांपल लेता हूँ, मैं सो रहा हूँ, आई हैव बाय गॉड ग्रेस आई हैव वेरी साउंड स्लीप, कि कोई मेरे पास नगाड़े भी बजा देगा मैं नहीं उठूंगा. लेकिन 100 मीटर दूर से कोई फ्रॉड हो या फॉरेंसिक बोल देगा मैं उठ जाऊंगा. सो इफ यू हैव दैट काइंड ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग और दैट काइंड ऑफ से, कि आज मुझे कोई बोलते हिडनबर्ग बोला, मैं सबसे पहले बैठ गया हिडनबर्ग पढ़ने में, यार रिपोर्ट में लिखा क्या है क्या? क्योंकि एवरी फ्रॉड इज डिफरेंट. अनलेस अंटिल वी वुड रीड अबाउट द फ्रॉड, वी वुड नॉट बी एबल टू नो व्हाट हाउ फॉरेंसिक वी कैन डू. हमें पता ही नहीं क्या हो सकता है, तो हम क्या उसे चेक करेंगे? आज से 10 years पहले मैंने जो फॉरेंसिक स्टार्ट करा फील्ड, उस टाइम मेरी जो थॉट प्रोसेस है और आज 10 साल या 11 साल के बाद जो थॉट प्रोसेस है, इज टोटली डिफरेंट. आज मैं किसी पे भी भरोसा नहीं करता. मैं कहता हूँ यार फ्रॉड कहीं पे भी हो सकता है, कैसे भी हो सकता है. सो हमें वो अंडरस्टैंडिंग और एक क्यूरियोसिटी, एक इंक्विजिटिवनेस चाहिए. अगर वो मिल जाती है, डेफिनेटली वेलकम इन द फॉरेंसिक फील्ड. सेकेंड, द पर्सन शुड बी ready to take pressures, and the pressure would not be a simple pressure. तो हर टाइप का प्रेशर उसके सिर पे पड़ रहा होगा. So that is the two areas which we feel कि अगर वो इन दो areas को संभाल लेता है तो forensic is the field for him or her.
So basically, sir, अगर किसी ने internal audit कर दिया है, it would be more easier to go in forensic, correct?
बिल्कुल. और डायरेक्ट फॉरेंसिक में भी जाते तो डायरेक्ट फॉरेंसिक में आर्टिकल्स आर गेटिंग हायर्ड.
Okay.
So what I have understood is that, internal audit and forensic are less of a regulation and more of a, working on process or digging out the things. Whereas statutory audit is more of, because, we are the government bodies, the parliament make certain regulations, rules, so that all of us, in order to have a more disciplined culture in the corporate or in the business, we come up with set of regulations, set of some standards. We may call it certain accepted worldwide principles or principles which are accepted in your business culture, in your country. That is, if you do according to that, I think we can say that is a statutory audit, audit under the statute. Which you need to understand what is there in the Companies Act, what is there in the Ind AS, what are the accounting standards, what are the auditing standards, what ICI has to say on the same. Well, that annual report or the report generated by the statutory audit would be useful for shareholders, government, taxpayers, various stakeholders of that company, the future investors. But when you are running a business and during the running of that business, whether things are moving properly or not, whether things are moving efficiently or not, and whether there is any leakage or not, I think those areas are taken care by internal audit and the forensic. Am I correct? So I think it's already 12:15 and it's a good time to wind up. But before we wind
Gaurav,
up,
I would add one more thing which I forgot. Today, the forensic auditor, the scope of forensic auditor has increased on the other side also. That कहीं किसी कंपनी में फ्रॉड हो गया और फॉरेंसिक ऑडिट में उसका फ्रॉड निकल के आ गया. Now he has to defend himself. So as a defense lawyer also the forensic auditor plays a very important role. So now we are supporting the promoters, the companies जिनके अगेंस्ट कोई केस आ गया. तो लॉयर्स हैं, उनकी एक लिमिटेशन है, उनको सिर्फ लीगल टर्मिनोलॉजी पता है. बट फॉरेंसिक एंगल से, जैसे एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल लेता हूं, अभी एक हमने केस करा. आई वाज असिस्टिंग द प्रमोटर. The whole case revolved around the related party concept, which कमल जी ने related party को समझाया. तो जब हमने related party concept को IBC और सेबी और कंपनीज एक्ट इन सबको पकड़ा, तो हमने related party concept में उस केस को सॉल्व कर गए. which उसे सॉल्व करना एज ए लीगल लॉयर वुड बी वेरी डिफिकल्ट, लेकिन related party में हम टेक्निकली निकल गए. So that is also very very big upcoming field for forensic auditor in India.
okay, thank you, Mukulji. Now, if any student or any participant has got any question for any of our panelists, I would request you may please raise your hand and we will unmute you and you can ask your question. If you have any questions, you may please raise your hand.
I think one of the student had asked the doubt from Mukul sir, can you please share any one fraud case on which you have worked and most remarkable in your experience?
अब एक केस लेते हैं. It was of a jewelry company. Okay. And the case was cracked only due to Facebook. Okay. मैं इसको डिटेल में केस में जाऊंगा तो it would take a lot of time. So I would just say कि वो पूरा का पूरा केस हम क्रैक कर पाए after 1.5 months of checking or investigation through Facebook. Because इन डिजिटल इकोनॉमी फॉरेंसिक ऑडिटर के लिए बहुत इजी हो गया है किसी भी बंदे को ट्रेस करना. और हम कहते हैं हम फॉरेंसिक ऑडिट में हमेशा कि हम सोशल प्रोफाइलिंग करते हैं ऑफ द एक्यूज्ड एंड हिज फैमिली एंड एवरीबॉडी, एंड दैट सोशल प्रोफाइलिंग गिव्स अ वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट गुड रिजल्ट्स इन आवर इन्वेस्टिगेशंस.
Okay, so any other question? I think there are no questions on the board right now. So I will thanks all our panelists, Kamal Garg ji, Ashish Bansal ji, Mukul ji, our moderator, Muskan, for taking out time and mentoring or guiding the students and the young members. Sunny is saying, please tell something about transfer. Sunny will take up some another session and discuss about transfer, but this is for audit. So thanks to all four of you for sharing your time, knowledge, experience. See, the purpose of this platform, I always say, it's to come up with the people who have got experience. Now, you are interacting with the person who has got 20 years of experience in the field. Generally, you need to take time. If you want to meet Kamalji, Ashishji, or Mukulji, you need to block their schedule, and then you will get an opportunity to meet them. But I'm thankful to all three of you for taking out time for this initiative and interacting with the students. This video is available on the YouTube, and I'm sure we'll have your more detailed discussion sometime in the future also. Thanks to all the participants for joining. Thank you, and we'll catch you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.